Okay, I'm here to talk to you today about shortcuts in Photoshop, things that you could, that are, I guess, kind of obvious, but you may not know them. Some of them, you probably know some, some you probably don't. But just little shortcuts that you can utilize to increase the productivity of your workflow. Now, we're going to start with the tools that are frequently used. V is the shortcut for the Move tool, which is located right here. M is the shortcut for the Marquee tool, which is located here. Lasso, L is the shortcut for this tool here. W is the shortcut for Wand, which is this tool here. C is the shortcut for this tool here, which is the Crop tool. Allows you to resize your canvas. Toot sweet. I, that's the shortcut for the Eyedropper tool, which allows you to sample color. J is the shortcut for the Spot Healing Brush tool, which allows you to fix blemishes like moles or acne or whatever. B is the shortcut for the Brush tool. S is the shortcut for the Clone Stamp tool. G is the shortcut for the Gradient tool. P is the shortcut for the Pen tool. T is the shortcut for the Type tool. U is the shortcut for the Shape tool. And one thing that is not a default on CS6 or CS5 in newer versions, I can't remember which. It used to be that R was the Blur, Smudge, Sharpen tool, but it changed. And in version CS5 or CS6 or something, it used to be R. I changed it in this demo to R because I was accustomed to how it was in the old way. In the newer versions, R is the Rotate tool, which allows you to rotate your canvas. But of course, that's how it was, but I changed it because I was accustomed to using that shortcut for the Blur, Smudge, Sharpen tool. And I reassigned the Rotate tool to the Z button because I never use Z. Because Z by default is the Zoom button, but there are other shortcuts for that action. Let's see. Oh, and if you want to cycle through your tools, let's say you're in, your Shape tool, and you want to cycle through, squares, squares, circles, rounded edge shapes. Just hold down Shift and press the shortcut, and they will cycle through all your different tool options. Now, also one thing I like to do is I like to assign a shortcut to the foreground picker because I find it can be quick and useful as opposed to just, I know it sounds silly, but to drag your mouse all the way over here and click this little spot. I mean, sometimes my aim is bad and I'm clicking all over the place, so I decided to go into the shortcuts and I assigned it K because K wasn't being used. How do you change shortcuts, you ask? Well, you can go to Edit and go down to Keyboard Shortcuts, or you can do Control Alt Shift K and you go to your shortcuts. If you want to change K, go down to Tools, change Foreground Picker to K. You can go down to Tools, scroll to the bottom, and there's your Huckleberry. Oh, if you wanted to change Blur, Smudge, Sharpen back to R, where is it? That's right here. And of course, Rotate done. Change to Z is right there. So that's how those are done. Now, different methods for zooming in and out, like I was talking about. I don't use Z to zoom in and out because you can hit Control plus or minus, and it'll zoom in and out for you. If you're zoomed all the way out, you can hit Control 0, and it'll bring it to fill your screen to fit everything as close as it can. If you're working on something and need to see what it looks like at 100%, all you have to do is press Control 1, I'm sorry, and it'll bring you to 100%. That shows you right there you're at 100%. You can also use the scroll wheel. If you hold Alt and scroll down or scroll up, you can zoom in and out that way. You saw me doing this earlier. Pressing F, it'll change the screen mode that you're in. Whenever you open Photoshop, you are in this view, which is standard screen mode. You press it once, you're in full screen mode, which is what I like to design in most often. And you hit it one more time and you're full screen mode without your menu bar or anything else. It just shows you just a black background and your file you're working on. Press it one more time, brings you back to standard screen mode. Also, another cool thing I like to use, because I never use the Z button for zoom, is if you hold down spacebar and Control, it turns into a magnifying glass. And if you click and drag left, you zoom out. If you drag right, you zoom in. It's a very quick, neat, fun way to zoom in and out. And it's super duper helpful. Let's see, moving on. Some miscellaneous shortcuts. If you want to create a new file, you hit Control N. That'll open up this palette. You can select your dimensions and units of measure accordingly and hit OK, and bam, you got yourself a new file. If you want to open a file and don't want to go to File, Open, what you can do is hit Control O, and it opens up your Open window. Another easy way to do that is on this kind of background, this kind of cold background. If you double click on it, it will also open your Open window. Save is Control S. If you haven't saved anything yet, it'll pop up. Why is that not saving? Because I haven't saved anything in here. If it was saved as something, hitting Control S would save it again. If you haven't saved it as anything, you need to hit Control Shift S, which will open up this window, which will allow you to save it, to name it. And if you are, let's say you're working on a PSD and you want to save it as JPEG, hit Control Shift S, and this will open up, and then you can choose whatever format you want to save your file as. Control Shift S. If you want to close this window, Control W is how you do that. Working on all these jobs that we do, if you want to go to the metadata quickly, there's a number of ways you can do that. You can hit right click here, go to File Info, and that'll take you to the metadata. I like to hit Alt FF, and it'll bring you to the same metadata. You got to hit Alt and then F twice in rapid succession. Another really long one that's hilariously, it's like, really, that's complicated, but it's Control Alt Shift I. That'll do it too, but I don't know why you would do that unless you're just used to it. Whatever works for you. Let's see, where are we? Image size. If you want to see how big your image is or maybe alter the size of it, Control Alt I opens up your image size. Canvas size is Control Alt C. It's another way, a more exact method of altering the canvas size of your board as opposed to just pressing C and just, dragging it out like so. Let's see, rulers. Instead of going up to Window or wherever the heck it's located, Show Rulers, if you just go to Control R, your rulers will pop up for you. And if you want to quickly change your unit of measure from pixels to inches or what have you, all you have to do while your rulers are showing is right click here and choose your unit of measure accordingly. Let's see, to turn guides on off. If you want to turn your guides on or off, you can press Control semicolon. I don't have any guides currently. Let me put some guides on there to show you what I'm talking about. Now I have guides. If I want them to go away, control semicolon, they go away. Press it again, they come back. You have to have rulers on to create guides. But you don't need rulers to look at guides. There's a grid. If you want to turn your grid on and off, press control apostrophe. There they are. Preferences, already covered that. Control K. Color settings. Control Shift K. Keyboard shortcuts, already mentioned that. Control Alt Shift K. If you're looking at your board and you want to quickly just see just the design you're working on and nothing else, if you hit Tab, it eliminates your toolbar and your palettes and everything. It just looks at if you're working really fast and you hit something and everything goes away and it looks like this, that's because you hit Tab. Or you just want to look at everything really clean and pristine. Tab makes it come back. Alrighty then. Let's say you have more than one job open. A way to cycle through however many jobs you have open is if you hit Control Tab, and it'll just cycle through them so you can take a quick look at what you have open. It works the same for if they're in dock mode as well. I don't like dock mode, so I don't use it. That's why I'm not seeing it now. Snap. Snap is a neat little tool. If you go to Window, View, Snap is on. Okay, so that Snap is on. And you see how it just kind of kisses up to it like that? You move it a little bit and just like kind of slides in there like there's, I don't know, gravity or some attractive force or something. So that's a little nice trick you can get to get things to lock into place fairly well. Left aligned, right aligned, center aligned. It's a nice little deal. If you want to turn that off, you hit Control Shift semicolon and it turns it off. See? Turn it back on, Control Shift semicolon. There you go. Let's say you have a quick way to desaturate the color. Of something. You want to really, let's say you're working on you got a background color and you want to put a nice picture of some texture over it or something to that effect, and you want to get rid of the color really quick on that texture layer, just hit Control Shift U, gets rid of your color. Control Z gets it back. All right. Now, moving on to layers. If you want to create a new layer, Control Shift N creates a new layer. Control N creates a new file. Control Shift N creates a new layer. And I don't know if I covered that, but yes, Control N creates a new file. I think I did cover that. Control Shift N creates a new layer. Let's say you want to duplicate that layer. Control J duplicates that layer. Let's say you want to make a group of selected layers. Select how many layers you want. Control G makes a group of those layers. If you want to flatten that group of layers that you just made a group, press Control E and it will rasterize that group. Let's say you got a bunch of layers, man, and you want to flatten all of it. Control Shift E will flatten all of them. If you want to create a flattened layer of all your visible layers without losing them, you need to hit Control-Alt-Shift-E. And it will create a layer without deleting the other layers below it. Yeah, okay. The reason it was just putting all that stuff on that one layer that you just saw a second ago is because that layer was empty. There were no active pixels in it. But if you have layers with active pixels, Control-Shift-E creates a new layer that wasn't in existence with all your stuff right on top without losing the other original layers. All right, let's say you want to move this layer up and down without going over here and clicking and dragging it. What you can do is you hit Control right bracket or left bracket. If you hit Control left bracket, it moves it down. If you can hit Control left bracket, it moves it up. That's a neat little trick. If you want to move this layer to the very top, Control Shift right bracket moves it to the very top. Control Shift left bracket moves it to the very bottom. Let's say you want to move your selection up and down. Alt right bracket moves your selection up. Notice how the actual selection is moving but not the layer itself. That goes up and down. See, if you just hit Control right bracket, it just keeps going. But Control left bracket goes down, and it'll keep going as well. These are all good tips and once you get used to this stuff, you can incorporate it into your workflow, and it really helps you zip along. You want to move this layer, I'm on to the very top, Control Shift right bracket moves it to the very top. If you want to move it to the bottom, Control Shift right bracket moves it to the very bottom. If you want to select more than one layer up and down, Alt Shift right bracket will help you go up or down in selecting layers. Alt Shift right bracket can help you go down in selection, and Alt Shift right bracket help you go up in selection. Let's see what else we got. You want to select all layers? Control Alt A will select them all for you. Let's say you want to just select the top layer. Control comma. Well, that's not working. Select the bottom layer. Select the top layer. Huh. Have to check into that. I don't know why that one's not working. Because it's Alt. Ugh. Okay, select top layer, Alt period. Select bottom layer, Alt comma. That's why that's Alts and Controls, rods and cones getting screwed up. You don't know what's going on. Alt comma, select top, Alt period, select Alt comma, selects bottom layer, Alt period, selects top layer. Yep, Alt period, Alt comma, Alt period, Alt comma. All right. Moving on. If you want to copy everything in a selection on all layers, what you do is make your selection, and then you press Control-Shift-C. And I press Control-V, and it pasted on a new layer, and it was a selection of everything inside the layers below it. But it didn't damage the layers below it. If I want to make a selection on on just a layer. And then I want to cut it, I want to create a new layer and paste it all in one move. It's Control-Shift-J. But what it did is it cut it out of this layer and pasted it in a brand new layer for you. If you want to do that, make your selection on the layer you want to make the selection of. Control-Shift-J. Now, let's see. Let's say you have a layer effect on a layer style, and you want to copy that to another layer, you can hold down Alt, click on the FX, and drag it to the other layer, and it will go to that layer for you. Or you can right-click on it. This is a long way for me. Right-click, copy layer style, choose the new layer you want to go on, right-click, and paste layer style. I like just Alt clicking and dragging personally. All right, easy clipping mask. Let's say you want to put something inside and use a shape of something to mask something else. What you can do is, let's see, am I on this layer? Make sure the layer you want masked is on top of the layer that is going to be utilized as the mask. And you can put your mouse in between them, hold down Alt, and then your mouse turns into this little box with an arrow pointing down. When you put your mouse in between them and hold Alt, it turns into that. You click it, and it turns it into a mask, like so. Or you can just make sure you're on that layer that you want to mask, and hit Control-Alt-G, does the same thing. Now, let's see. The HUD color picker, heads-up display. Let's say you're doing something and you're painting and whatnot. You can just use the eyedropper tool if you want, but let's say you want a color that doesn't exist on the board as of yet. You're painting, and let me turn off my mask. You're painting or whatever, and you want to use a color that you haven't really done yet, so you can't eyedrop it, and you don't want to go all the way over. I know it's silly, but some people, depending on my mood, would consider, this is too much of a movement for me, and you want to have another option. If you hit Control, Alt, Shift, and then right-click, a heads-up display color picker will come up for you. And you can alter the size of this, and you can also turn it into a circle in your preferences. You go to your preferences, and you see HUD color picker. You can, strips, small, medium, large, wheel, small, medium, large. This is what the wheel looks like. So it's just another option for you if you're, in the zone, painting something for whatever reason. You got to cut somebody out and paint in a background. If cloning is out of the option, that's another little thing you can do. Okay. Background and foreground color. Let's say your background and foreground colors are, not black and white like they're supposed to be. See, right now, my foreground is red and my background is purple. Well, if I want to get that to black and white, all I have to do is hit D. Bam. Back to default. Sometimes you just got to get that correct black. If you want to invert those colors, regardless of what they are, just hit X, and your foreground color becomes your background color, and your background color becomes your foreground color. If you want to fill something with a color, instead of going to G and choosing Paint Bucket, don't do that. That's what amateurs do. People that have never, used Photoshop, that's what they do. If you want to fill something with your foreground color, let's make your foreground color something interesting so you can tell. I want to fill this shape with foreground color. Don't make me look stupid, Photoshop. There. You can Alt Backspace will fill it with a foreground color. If you want to fill it with the background color, Control Backspace. Foreground, Alt Backspace, background, Control Backspace. Let's say you want to fill only the active pixels of a layer with color, like these brush marks. If I want to fill only, then those brush marks are the only active pixels in this layer. If I want to fill the active pixels with foreground color, Alt Shift Backspace. It fills it with foreground color. If I want to fill those active pixels with background color, Control Shift Backspace. Fill with foreground color, Alt Shift Backspace. Fill with background color, Control Shift Backspace. Bam. Okay. I swear. Okay, you're using your brush, right, kids? You're using your brush. You want to make the brush size bigger. Right bracket makes it bigger. Want to make it smaller? Left bracket makes it smaller. Let's say you want to alter the hardness of your brush. Shift right bracket will make it harder. Shift left bracket will make it softer. If you want to cycle through your brushes, you use the less than or greater than sign. You know, they'll just go either way. You can go up or down in your little brush presets, or you can hit right click and just choose. That's one thing I like to do. One thing that I don't even use the other ways. I use right bracket, left bracket to change size, but when I'm using the brush, what I really do is I take my brush, I'm in brush mode, I use my pen tool. I mean, you can do it with a mouse, but whatever. Control, Alt, right click. If you hold down the right click and drag left or right, you can change the size of your brush. If you hold down Control, Alt, right click and go up or down, you can alter the hardness of your brush. See? Soft, hard, big, small. That's the way I prefer to mess with brush size and hardness. While you're painting, and you want to sample a color, if you're not using your HUD color picker, you can just hold down Alt and your brush turns into an eyedropper, and you can sample color, as opposed to just actually pressing the eyedrop tool and then going back to B to press. You to go back to brush. Hold down Alt and sample the color. Selections. This is your selection. If I want to add to that selection, I hold Shift, and I can add to it. If I want to subtract from that selection, I hold down Alt, and I can subtract from that selection. Let's say you lose your selection. Oh no, where'd it go? Control Shift D reselects it for you, or you can press Control Z. Right now I'm selected inside this selection. If I want to select outside it, without changing it, I can invert it. To invert your selection, Control Shift I, and now you can, you're outside of that selection. And to deselect, press Control D. Sliders. You got these dealy bobs all over the joint. If you want to, you don't have to click the drop down and move this little slider back and forth. All you got to really do is just put your mouse to the left of them, and it turns into a little hand with an arrow going right and left. If you just do that, you can just click and drag it to the left and the right, and that's all you need, man. Transformation. Press U, create a shape. Press D to get default colors. Alt, backspace, fill color, and I would transform. Instead of going, I don't know where you go to edit to transform something? I don't even know. Control T allows you to transform stuff, right? Press escape cancels it. If you hold Shift while transforming, it allows you to maintain proportions while changing size. If you hold Shift while transforming, it allows you to scale from the center of the shape or wherever this little, target is located. If you're in transform mode and you press Alt, you can move this little target wherever you want it. Like if I wanted to rotate this, I could just put it like right there, and I can rotate it from that axis. Axis. Yeah. Let's say you have something that's like, you dragged something from one job into another job, and they're two different sizes, and it's crazy. Well, you're zoomed in this real tight, and you're zoomed in this tight, and you want to transform the item that you're currently looking at. Press Control T. The bounding box is outside of where you can see. So while it's transformed, all you got to hit is Control 0, and it brings you all the way out to where you can see the bounding box. So you can grab it, bring it in, bam, keep working. If you're transforming something and you hold down Shift and rotate it, it rotates objects in 15-degree increments. So it allows you to, make something at a 45-degree or whatever. Let's get a regular square on there to illustrate my point more succinctly. Square, diamond, boom. Okay, this is type related. Turn that layer on, fill it with white. It'd be nice if I can spell correctly. Words. Okay. Control T, make that bad boy bigger. I'm all the way at the end. Press down, you go to the end. Press up, go to the very top. Or press up, go to the very beginning of the line you're on. See? Okay, well, press up, go there. Let's say you want to highlight just a word. Control Shift left arrow highlights just that word. Press it 3 more times, you got the whole line. Let's say you want to highlight the whole line at one time. Control Shift up will allow you to highlight that whole word. Press it 4 more times, you got all the words in your, type field. Let's say you want to make a highlighted word larger or smaller in your type field. Now highlight the word, Control Shift right, greater than or less than. If you press less than, it's the one on the right, it makes it bigger. You press greater than, it makes it smaller. I mean, you could highlight it and just go over here and do it more, precisely. But this is a quick little, I think it does by, I don't know the exact value that jumps in point size each time, but it's a quick little way to make something bigger or smaller. Let's say you wanted to increase the leading or decrease the leading on this line. If you hold Alt and highlight the whole line, press Alt and press down, it'll increase the leading. You press up, it'll decrease the leading. This whole type field is left aligned. If you want it right aligned, highlight all of it. Control Shift R makes it right aligned. Control Shift L makes it left aligned. Control Shift C makes it center aligned. If you want italics, Control Shift I makes it italicized. If you want it bold, Control Shift B makes it bold. If you want it all capitalized, Control Shift K. And of course, you can do that for individual words. You're using the words, you type in whatever. I've seen people go up here and press the check mark to confirm their typing choice. I never even knew about that, to be honest with you. What I do, see how it's live and it's blinking and I just got done typing. What I could do is I could hit the enter button on the bottom right of the number pad. Bam, hit that. It confirms what I just wanted to do. Or I can hit Control Enter. And it also, it's like hitting the check mark, but it's quicker than moving your mouse all the way up here. moving your mouse all the way up there. Whenever you're done typing, or you can hit escape if you don't want to, if you didn't like your type choice. Smart guides. I flipped the mouse. No, nobody freak out. Okay, this works better when Snap is on. Snap is not on. Snap is on now. Smart guides. And it's not a shortcut, but it's a nice little helper, if you will. Go down to View, Show, Smart Guides, and yeah, see that? It helps you line things up. These little lines, pink lines, show up to help you place your thing better. It helps a lot more. It helps more when Snap is on. If Snap is off, yeah, I think it's a little tougher. Yeah, the lines are there, but it's practically just like, waving at you as you miss getting it exactly where you want it. Bye. But it helps a lot. It's easier when Snap is on. Just a little thing to help you with. Okay, smart objects. Smart objects are your friend. Right now this is a vector shape, but I'm going to rasterize it to better illustrate my point. I hit Control-J to make a copy, and if I wanted to, I could just hit Control-G, Control-E, and that'll rasterize it for me. That's one thing I do. That's a little click and click. Instead of going over here and right-clicking and hit a rasterize layer, just Control-G, Control-E, make it a group, then flatten that group. Control-E only works on more than one layer, but if you want to use it on just one layer, you got to make it a group first. I hope I said that right. Sometimes I say things and they come out differently in my head. Control-E works on more than one layer, but if you work it just on one layer, you got to make it a group first before you can flatten it. All right. This is a rasterized letter A. This is taking the place of an image. Okay, one of these is rasterized, and one of these I'm going to make a smart object. Smart objects are things that you can resize infinitely and they never lose quality or information. So now I have the A on the left is rasterized, and the A on the right is a smart object. I'm going to reduce them in size on a 300 dpi document. Is this document 300 dpi? 300 pixels per inch? Yeah. Okay, so now they're both transformed small. And now I'm going to transform them large again. That's why you make images and rasterize things into smart objects, because smart objects, you can do whatever you want with them. They still say razor sharp. Raster objects in Photoshop get blurry and nasty and ugly, and that's not fun for anybody. So smart objects, use them. Okay. Now, coming to blending modes. You know what a blending mode is. It allows you to... I'm not here to explain what blending modes are, dadgummit. I'm just here to show you shortcuts. Thank you. All right. Usually, if you want to make this purple shape, on multiply, you have to go over here, hit the drop down, and hit multiply, and it's on multiply. But there's another way. If you want to hit want to be multiply, all you have to hit is Shift-Alt-M makes it multiply. Shift-Alt-N, M as in Mike, N as in November. Shift-Alt-N as in November brings you to normal. And there's a whole bunch of them. Linear burn is Shift-Alt-A. Color burn is Shift-Alt-B. Color is Shift-Alt-C. Color dodge is Shift-Alt-D. Difference is Shift-Alt-E. Soft light is Shift-Alt-F. Lighten is Shift-Alt-G. These are all combinations of Shift and Alt, so I don't drop another S-bomb. Lighten is G. Hard light is H. Dissolve is I. Linear light is J. Darken is K. Multiply is M. Normal is N. Overlay is O. Screen is S. Saturation is T. Hue is U. Vivid light is V. Linear dodge is W. Exclusion is X. Luminosity is Y. And pin light is Z. Or you can just hit Shift, Alt, plus or minus, and you can scroll through them like this and just land on whatever looks prettiest. Because, I mean, I gotta be honest with you, other than multiplying and normal, I really don't have any of the other ones memorized. But yeah, that's, those are they. Anyway, that's been my half of the presentation. Thank you. You've been a lovely audience. Toodles.